All right, here we go. كذابة برابا كذابة برابا شفتك بعيني يا كذابة بابا برابا. عم تحكي مبسوطة فرحانة معجوقة انتي ويا حد البوابة. Not really what it looks like. God, this forehead. Hmm. Oh, I can't control the quality? Yeah, that's okay. I'm just checking out the quality or what it looks like on the phone. Bit grainy. Oh, got a bit better. But I still think there's like a big delay that's not really necessary. Ah, hello, Rhubarb. Rhubarb Jin. Catching up with the Antidote newsletter? Ooh. I actually haven't read it. Good to know, though. People are reading it. I do very much so like the people involved. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to another one of these. Got this weird feeling. Wait, okay, this is sound. Got this weird feeling of being hungry, but I just ate. And I had like a mini waffle dessert, but still have that like want to fill the gut. Does this look good? I've got this little plant over here. Gonna slowly start building up the setup. Still need to figure out where's best to have the camera. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, my friend. There's a lot to talk about, but also all the time in the world. Not really. How are we all doing tonight? Hello, Renda. We all doing good? Living our best lives? كذابة برابا كذابة برابا شفتك بعيني يا كذابة بابا برابا بحكي مبسوطة. What am I doing? Ugh. Still waiting to get that video essay out. I feel like so much of my life has kind of been on standstill, waiting for that to happen. But yeah, how's it going? How was everyone's weekend? Got a haircut? I don't know if people notice those things. Not my favorite, but I'll probably start using some solutions to at least limit this hair loss. It's sad because I don't think I have a very nice head. But it's been the case for a while. I've always had a big forehead. But it's getting bad. No one can tell me Naiman. Thank you. I've been going to the Syrian barber here in Vienna. And he's nice. It's fun. But last time, I don't know. We got into this conversation and it like reminded me why I love and miss, but also can't stand older Arab men. Hello, Sofia Ciente. Welcome to another one of these live streams. Try rosemary oil. Rosemary oil. Oh, I don't know. I might just jump right into the kind of full medical whatever. He actually suggested like I'm forming a relationship with this barber. I've gone with him several times, and this time I asked him. He's like, "Yeah, it is lessening quite a bit." And he showed me these products that he says he used. I don't believe. Thank you, Miss Ranunculus. Ranunculus. That's Ranunculus. But yeah, the political discussion is always really fun. Um, when I told him I'm losing my hair and a part of it is like stress because of, situation back home, he asked me to like hold out my hand, and with each finger he was like, fuck all of the parties, fuck all of the militias, fuck all of the leaders, fuck all of them, which is like funny. Um but like deeply cynical, which I know a lot of like especially older Arab men are. Not exclusively, but they tend to be. And then yeah, he started talking more and more. And then I'd forgotten this. He'd said this before, but he's like Killun, they're all fucked. All the leaders, all the regimes are all terrible. Ma, there's nothing like Saddam. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's not fuck all of them, is it? And at that point, it ceased to be a kind of like, yeah, yeah. It started becoming a, oh, mm, yeah, nah, kind of conversation, just biting my tongue, biding my time, and just eventually, get the khair Allah. Anyway, that's been good knowing you, seeing you. Yeah, not the funnest thing to get into. But the Saddam nostalgia really does still exist. Hello, Mariam. Welcome to this very cozy stream. I've got a plant sprucing up the place a bit. I can't actually get it any closer. Let me try. I do want to bring it a bit closer into frame. That's better. I have noticed most people that are streaming, there's like a room behind them. I don't know if that's like the new fashionable thing. I can't really do that, but I think it's fine. Where are you? The States? No, I'm in Vienna, Austria. I know I have a very American accented English, but I've never lived there. One of the wouldn't call it a perk. I mean, it's a perk in some instances, but it's one of the effects of growing up in a kind of periphery of the American Empire. Oh, nice, yeah. Oh, I noticed that the chat is a little slow, or not putting it on you. There's a lag between this and the chat, or I guess the broadcast, which I'm going to try and factor in a bit more. I think that fucked me up a bit last time. I kind of said bye, and then I kept going. And then when I look at the chat, everyone's just saying bye, bye, bye. And I'm like, oh, okay, you don't want me to go on. But it was just the lag, it's just the sort of delay. Ah, hello, Kaylin. Hope I pronounced that properly. Welcome. Oh, you've been catching the live, the VODs. I'm learning some of this lingo. Video on demand. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice that there's sort of a live aspect of it, and then immediately after this, it's a video that anyone can watch. Oh, oh. Your video on Zionism from the standpoint of its victims inspired my term 1 Arabic presentation. Let's just say that everyone liked the topic. That video was amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I really liked that. And like it's one of those things that it's very rare for a writer or whatever that like I revisit it and I can kind of just watch it. Like I don't cringe at myself at all or have those kind of like critiques in my head of like, "Ah, should have said this, I should have said that." It all just really fell into place. I had a lot of more struggles with this video essay that should be coming out soon. I hate that it's become this thing that like it's done. I just need to basically wait for YouTube to approve our channel into the YouTube partnership program or whatever, to then release it publicly. But yeah, had a hard time with that one. But I really like the first one, and I'm glad that you did too. It feels like a poem, kind of like it just fit clean, like with the footage and the clips that I was using. I've noticed the chat stream isn't saved through the VOD, so it's nice when you read out comments before responding to them. I know you question whether you should do this before. I don't know how that works, because actually, I think it's a setting I can do on my end that it sort of replicates the chat after the fact in the VOD. Sometimes it happens for me, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, either way, for the time being, I'll be reading. I was wondering why the standstill. But also, there's an option for me to have it like as part of the VOD. Like, there's like a chat right here next to me that's moving. I might get to that at some point. Feels a bit unnecessary. Also allows me to do a kind of light moderation because very new to this, and so yeah. Oh, with the new video essay, yeah, it's been really frustrating, but making a lot of progress, and now just basically waiting on YouTube, and hopefully in the next week. I've been saying that for like a few weeks now, but yeah, I've got high hopes for it. I think it's a good one. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, actually, I made a good point, or made several good points. But yeah, working on it was a fucking nightmare. It's like an emotional journey, you know? I mean, on top of everything else that was happening, because like as I started working on it, the war in Lebanon escalated, the aggression escalated. Uh, which it kind of helped to have something to like channel. You know, I mean, I had the podcast. Wasn't doing therapy at the time, but yeah, kind of like a project. Or nice. But so hopefully we're at the back end of it. I'm finding myself like every day, like 5 times a day, refreshing the thing in progress, in progress. Actually, I'm in one of those really annoying um moments in my life. I mean, it happens every now and then wherein I'm kind of waiting on like 6 different emails. I'm kind of like sitting on my hands and I don't want to do anything because I'm waiting on responses. And I hate it because I just want to do stuff. And I'm doing stuff, but I also don't want to add more onto my plate and like hate that feeling of just like the anticipation, but also the lack of ability to like move autonomously, essentially. It does. I wish everyone from my class watched and appreciate everything that was said. I was like, ah, yeah. No, it's a cute one. I really like it. I mean, especially as my first video essay, I was very like pleased with myself. Like, oh, I can do this. That's one of the really funny things about podcasting and the like when you discover that it's actually just incredibly easy. Um, like setting up a podcast and just doing it. Um, it feels it's made to feel a bit more like professional or complex or kind of you'd need to have some expertise, but you really just don't. Hello, imagination scene. Kaylin, also agree, read the previous video essay and the current one. Oh yeah, you've watched it on Patreon. Agree in what way? It's definitely longer. I mean, it's literally twice the length of the first one, but it's also just like a bigger topic. One that I kind of feel a bit, yeah. There's an interesting thing. Why'd my voice just break there? There's this interesting thing wherein it is much more difficult to talk about your own than to talk about them, which is it's really a terrible like fact. Oh, okay. That it was great. Yeah. Thank you. Can't wait to share it with people. Neither can I. We're in the same boat with that one. But the one in waiting is diff. Brenda says it helps you when you have an amazing knowledge to share. Okay. That's flattering. I noticed I can do something really cute, really quick. I ever want to look embarrassed. Oh, no, that looks terrible. Sorry. Put it back down to 0. I don't know if you could even see that. So yeah, there's stuff to talk about. But also, I want this to be a chill stream. So let's talk. Let's share thoughts. The cat is laying by the radiator. I might selfishly bring him onto my lap. He'll be fine. But milking the cat content. He's put me through enough. So it's even though he pays it back with cuddles. Kaylin says, I think there are also some interesting connections between it and the like pro-Russian sentiment of certain posts. Between the video essay between like the veneration of Arab nationalist leaders and the like pro-Russian sentiment of certain post-Soviet state leaders now, like looking towards his imagined unified, dignified past. Yeah, this is the case in all nationalisms. And the one who's going to restore, you know? And it's really fucking frustrating that people talk about yeah, the delay. I'll try and figure it out. I think there's something on my end that I can like boost how much more I send. Or maybe I shouldn't respond right away to stuff. How's that gonna work? No, it's fine. It'll work. But I think there's something I can do. Not checked the channel for a while. Just saw the Arab anarchism while looking now. Sounds pretty interesting because I watched about Islamic communism. Not my quotations, theirs, was on the Al-Muqaddami. What's the Al-Muqaddami channel? But not finished that, been very busy. My Arab anarchism thing isn't like an overview of what Arab anarchism looks like. It's more focused on Omar Aziz. And then I talk a bit about Arab anarchism. But again, with the specific example of Syria and the local councils. But there's definitely not like a kind of cohesive thing that like Arabs and like adopt anarchism and sort of apply, and discussions between them and the like. Which sounds really interesting, actually. I might do, but like mostly my focus, if I talk about Arab anarchism, which again is not a term that I would use in terms of like, you know, like Arab socialism, which is like a thing, which is ridiculous, but like regardless. Anarchism in the Arab world, but I also don't like Arab world. I don't like a lot of things. Seems like Twitch usually better with delay. Yeah. Yeah, there might be a point that I'll have to either start doing more of these on Twitch or like dual streaming. But I don't know, Twitch is scary, man. Like genuinely, Twitch it makes me feel, you know, old. But also like really in a different space. Like I turned to podcasting and streaming as like an alternative mode of writing, essentially. But there's most people on Twitch and most streamers and most podcasters are professional streamers and podcast. Like, what are they known for? They're known for streaming. And so there's like a whole thing, and it's a very toxic space, and I don't know. Oh, some alternative terms for like the Arab world, Islamicate, Arabosphere. There have been terms that I like of like the Arab and Arabized world. Um, but lately I've obviously been leaning a lot towards like Swana and Wana as like geographical things that aren't necessarily like loaded with political connotation. Um, but again, when I talk about Arab anarchism, lately I've mostly been talking about local councils in Syria and the resistance committees in Sudan as two of the main examples of these kind of like sort of large scale projects of anarchism, of actual anarchist organizing. But I think the thing that's always difficult to describe with anarchism is that, you know, some of the most important anarchist organizers in history, you know, we don't know their names. It's, you know, they never rose to the top in that way because that's not the point. So it's very everyday, it's very mundane. You know what I mean? المقدمة. Okay. I've never heard of this channel. Nah, it's not that bad. I've been on some other streams that have way worse delays. This one's fine. Thank you. I find it funny I don't actually watch or read that much. I'm very selective these days with what I read or what I watch. I find myself always turning people down or like doing that really shitty thing where I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, check it out for sure. Or then make up these excuses of like, you know, oh, I'll put it on the short list. Islamicate was a term Marshall Hodgkins, Hodgson, Hod, Hodgson, Marshall Hodgson came up with, and I've seen it used by academics. I've definitely seen Islamicate. I have a friend of mine who does research on magic in Islam, and Islamicate is a big one because a lot of magical practices that still exist in a lot of these societies, but also within the lore or within the religion, sort of predate the advent of Islam. And so there's like a kind of Islamicate as a kind of these things that have been, you know, adopted and whatever into Islamic practice. Yeah, it's interesting because I do think there's a need to be a different term for the historical Muslim world since it includes areas like Al Andalus that aren't part of the Swanro area. I mean, most Muslims are not Arab. This is something that Arabs do not contest with. And so, yeah, depending on what we're talking about, there's like a need to have this kind of different labels. Um, but yeah, the Muslim world, you know, Indonesia is the largest Muslim population of any country. But that's usually neglected when we talk about the Muslim world, which a lot of people usually just use to mean the Arab world, which a lot of people use to mean um, Swana. I use Swana basically as a replacement for Mino because I know people are much more comfortable with Mino as opposed to Middle East, but I still see the same problem. I'm not a big stickler on it necessarily, but it's just my emphasis, and I actually am a big stickler. I really hate the term Middle East. Okay. But yeah, I'm definitely not gonna do an episode or have a whole thing about like Islamic anarchism. Um, yeah, because that's a whole other connotation. And I know Dugout Podcast, actually, this is a shout out for Dugout Podcast. They did an episode with this scholar named Muhammad Abdo, and he looks into. I think his most recent book is about like anarchism in Islam, and how we can sort of how people can like pull those two things together. Haven't read it, but Isra, my co-host for the Mutual Aid podcast, has, and I think they're planning on interviewing them as well. Sounds interesting, but yeah. For Magic, you can see the Astra Project. I watched the episode with. Ah, yeah, I know Liana Safe. I don't know her personally, but because of this friend of mine who's doing this research, she just kept coming up against Liana Safe. And it's just one of those things that if you spend enough time in a like a very niche focus, you start to discover the kind of like micro celebrities within those focuses. And it's like, who are the big names? Liana Safe's one of them. Kind of reminds me of a scene from What We Do in the Shadows, where they're in this big like vampire conference, and one of them was it what's his name? Tim Robinson? No, the energy vampire. I don't know. It's just such a nothing scene, but it's just he goes like, "Oh my god, that's Natalie! It's Natalie, you guys! It's Natalie!" And then that's it. But just this the joke of like that micro celebrity within the energy vampire world. Okay, seems like there's some interest in oh, in Islamic studies in general. I thought we are still on magic and Islam. I've never gotten that much into. I mean, because I'm not Muslim, and I don't come from a Muslim family, and I don't know that much, and I have no like rooting within it in that sense. And my like other Abrahamic friends kind of fucked me up growing up. I come from a people who do not believe in hell. You know, I am Druze. I am from the Druze faith. At least my family is, and we believe in reincarnation. And we don't read the Quran. We don't read anything. And yeah, but it was my Christian and Muslim friends that told me about hell, and that like if you throw food away, you're gonna go to hell, or if you do this, and so they fucked me up. And so I always had a very antagonistic relationship with those like theologies from the get go, because to me they were just sources of terror, which again we just didn't have. We didn't have much of anything, which is also its own problem. Oh, that's cute. There's a little discussion going on in the chat that's separate from what I'm talking about, which is fine. Happy to be a curator of interesting meetings. Actually, I love that. I love being that person who introduces two people and they end up hitting it off. Not just romantically, I mean, just platonically. Like knowing that two friends that I've been friends with for years are now living in the same city and I put them in touch. And then whenever they meet up, they send me selfies. I'm just like, I did that. And some even more kind of, what's the word? Serendipitous. Where there's like, it's very strange that these two people would meet, but they hit it off. It's great. I watched 2 lectures that changed my view on the topic of hell. Okay. Ooh, picked nads. I hope that's a very, very ironic use of that term. Or the original use of the term. Um, like 18th century philosophy or whatever. Oh, wait. I think I understand your name. In a nice way, though. Okay. I mean, even your username is a bit sus, I'll be honest. But welcome. Hmm. Shemaine. The cat's still toasting himself on the radiator. So yeah. I've got no plan for this stream. I'm just I was thinking like maybe I should start doing stuff on Firefox or like YouTube, watching stuff together. There's a lot of stuff on my mind that I'd like to talk about, but I've got the podcast for that. And I kind of want to do something a little different with the live stream, something a bit more interactive, as opposed to just me going off for like an hour about sectarianism in Lebanon. Or Zionism. Ah, Kaylin, you use the word swimmingly. I once used that word in a science report in high school, and I still remember. I don't know why. I mean, because growing up, English, it's a foreign language, but grew up in like first a British school and then an American school, so it was like my primary language. But there are certain words that I pick up here and there that I don't really know the connotation of, And so I wrote swimmingly, and I thought that was fine. Like it was good. It went well. Like the thickest red circles around it, like 5 question marks from my psychology teacher, um, who was a coffee addict. He would drink like I'm no joke, like 6 cups of coffee a day, and it was obvious because she was one of the most like highly strung people I'd ever met in my life. I remember she's American. This is in like my school in Beirut. I remember she once like flipped out at me, and she used a term that I'd never heard up until that moment, and I found it quite not offensive, just like a kind of I don't know how to describe it. She was like, "Listen, guy." Like I don't know why that fucked me up at the time. I was like, it's. I think it's the intentional, impersonal nature of it all. Listen, guy. Like I'm not just a guy. Like we've known each other for 2 years. I'm your student. Um, but I found that really funny, and just like the fact that it kind of stuck. And that lately, holy shit, I've been dreaming way too much about school. And like every single night, I'm dreaming about school. I'm dreaming I'm in the apartment I grew up in Beirut. I'm growing up like the other day. I had a dream where I went to a guy's house. This is a guy I knew from school. I haven't thought of him in 10 years. We weren't even that good of friends. He was just a guy I knew. And in the dream, I went to his apartment, which was in Dahi. In real life, I don't think he lived in Dahi at all. He was much more of a Jneh type of person. And I remember being in the apartment, like in the dream, and like looking out and seeing all the destruction, and it was fucked. And a lot of other stuff happened. But I don't know. I don't know why this person popped up in my mind, in my subconscious. You and Ali are both Lebanese, right? You have vastly different accents, and I've been very curious about that. Um, yeah, I mean, for the most part, um, like there is a public schooling system in Lebanon, but anyone like there's also a very vast private school or like church related schooling system kind of thing. And the main one is like the French system. So like a lot of people went to like not French schools, but French speaking schools and the French system. Um, and then there are other schools which are English. Um, English speaking, and there are a few of them. I like even Elia was is a bit I would say like not like typical accented. Um and I don't know if they had that similar like history as I did, but basically for me growing up, I kind of like super rejected the Lebaneseness and the Arabness and everything. And so I like I don't know, developed this accent, which is kind of American, but what I've definitely noticed is that um it's actually a very like international school accent, which tends to be a bit more American than let's say British or like anything else. Um but it's a lot softer, I've noticed. And a lot of Europeans think I'm British. Because I think to Europeans, like Americans are just louder and kind of stress a lot of the vowels. And obviously, this isn't like the one American accent. I don't know what this is. It's a kind of just loud, kind of like. I got out of getting a ticket once by pretending to be an American, obnoxious American tourist. And I so frustrated the ticket person. They're like, "Ah, just go. It's okay, next time validate." Oh, I'm sorry. I thought no, this is a valid ticket. No, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I kept and I obviously like voice raised and everything. I'm sorry. I'm getting a bit loud. Sounds more Canadian. I can do a few. Like I seem to find myself under pressure when I'm doing accents or impressions on live stream. But I was talking to an Australian the other day. It's from Adelaide, and I feel like I kind of shocked him with my decent Adelaide impersonation, or just generic Australian. Australian. The trick is that a lot of like these accents, the O kind of turns a bit into an I kind of thing. No, mate, no, no. I don't know how to like. I don't know why I'm. It's so much better offline. I feel. I don't know. Anyway, Imagination Scene says, "Wow, that reminds me when I was in high school. Our IT teacher had so much coffee you could smell the coffee like from a meter away because he always like carried like a big container with yeah. I mean, this person had mugs, and I think they were like the classroom was like right next to the teacher or whatever lounge. You could smell it off her, uh, in the same way that if someone's been drinking, you can smell the booze like, oof. But also just high strung, just kind of like what? Which is so funny because her husband. I need to get a new chair. I want to make so much noise. Her husband taught me environmental sciences, and the chillest dude, like so clearly from this kind of like cool lefty 90s sort of hippie whatever, that then got a bit older and sort of like traveling around, and they've got like two young kids, and so it's like I don't know, but like I can imagine that she was probably also like that, like kind of cool hippie whatever. And then I don't know, shit got real and she got stiff as fuck. But he was like nonchalant as fuck. Actually, I have a very distinct memory of him making a joke with this person who I dreamt of like only a few days ago, who I haven't thought about in 10 years. And it was a very American joke. And I didn't get it at the time. But the kid was kind of kissing his ass. So he goes up to me, he's like, "Oh, sorry, you've got a bit of brown stuff on your nose." Very American joke. There was like a very strong distinction between the American teachers and the Lebanese teachers. Um, where like a joke like that could never fly with the Lebanese teacher, but there's also that familiarity with the Lebanese teachers, like they're Lebanese, and kind of like there's a familiar relation, wherein with the American teachers there's like a complicated, but like there's like an aspiration almost. I don't know how to describe it, but it's fucked. The accent may be very soft, very, very soft American, the way I hear it as a Brit. But yeah, Kaylin writes somewhat American too. Canadian too. Uh, yeah. No, but yeah. It definitely is an exception to or like an exaggeration of a general trend in Lebanon. And with Elia, yeah, I think Elia is a bit more typical just with that it's French accented, that he, like rolls his R's. Um, but yeah, no, R. Gotta leave soon and open my fast. Oh, تحتين سلف. Yeah, actually, Ramadan started. God, living here, there's no Ramadan vibes. Oh my God, actually, if I started this stream now, this is terrible timing for people who are fasting. I don't think anyone wants to break their fast while watching me. Hi, Mary. Mary. Welcome. This is your first time. I'm going to close the door. Oi. I'm back. I had an older British guy once tell me that. What did he say to me? Why is your accent so Yankified? Found that quite funny. Iftar mukbang. I think that's haram. That must be haram. God damn it. Why does this always happen to me? Why does everything bad happen to me? Hmm. Nope. I am lighterless. Ah, there's a lighter. Talk amongst yourselves. Ugh. Oi. So, how's everyone doing? Gonna take a cheeky little smoke, hide it behind the microphone. Because I suspect YouTube does not like this. Taum Makbul? I didn't understand that, Rendo. Barely coping with current events, but otherwise okay. Yeah. Um, I think there's a lot of people like me that are experiencing a kind of burnout, especially like with such close proximity to some of these things that are happening. But I don't know. Welcome. Let's talk about it. I honestly found this video of Zelensky and the Oval Office like quite shocking, and genuinely hard to watch. Because it is like such brazen imperialist bullying and just disgusting. You know, and these are the kind of things that we know happen and have happened for, I mean, not just with Trump, but like this is the kind of MO or whatever. Like, even if it's not so undiplomatically and like aired and filmed and whatever, but these are the fucking guys that are in charge of the foremost, you know, empire. And then the responses, my god. And the shit posting. But like, I don't know. Tankies need to just shut the fuck up. I literally saw an account the other day. Huge. It's very a big account on Twitter, which again is a problem. Um, which in itself is problematic. Like, I'm not gonna say anyone who's still posting on Twitter is doing a bad thing, because definitely they're like, you know, people from marginalized communities that like this is a channel to reach each other, but also reach other people, fundraise and awareness raising and the like. That I'm not gonna go and scold or whatever. But there's certain big like accounts that like definitely they don't need to be posting. And but anyway, this one account, which is a very big known one that y'all probably know and have seen, that basically I'm just going to describe it as an anti-Zionist account. I'm going to stop calling these things that like good on Palestine, bad on whatever, because I don't think they're good on Palestine, and I don't think they really talk about Palestine. Their main thing is that they're anti-Israel, which is fine, but it's specific and it's micro and it's myopic and it's whatever. Um, and it's not really actually anti-imperialist. But anyway, I saw this guy, like, the amount of like Schadenfreude that people are experiencing over like this sort of like ambush scenario by Trump and Vance against Zelensky. Like, haha, that's what you fucking get for receiving US weapons and like selling your country out to the US. And which is a narrative obviously we've heard 1,000 fucking times. Like, Russia just doesn't exist in these people's minds. Like, aggression does not, it just doesn't factor in. It's purely just them and the US. But anyway, in proving, in using, being like, you can never trust the US empire, um, who does this person use as a citation? Of all the people that you could use to cite, to suggest, to show that you cannot trust American imperialism, that American interests are sort of interested, they're their own thing, and that they've betrayed dozens and whatever, and they're fucked, and their imperialist interests top any other consideration. What leftist? What anti-imperialist? What, you know, in the last 100 years? No, not Dugin. Hassan Nasrallah. Like, used a clip of Nasrallah saying like the American empire is bad. And it's like, That's your citation. This is who you've, and I think there's so much of this sort of aesthetics of looking radical and like really being in the know. Kind of incredibly fucking like fucked up. And so yeah, you have a lot of these like self-claimed leftists who are basically aligned with Trump when it comes to Zelensky, when it comes to Ukraine. And so I've known this for a very long time, but I can't trust any of these people to have my back, or to be a bit consistent, or to be like actually anti-imperialist, or care about the lives of those who are facing aggression and occupation. Because we've seen just how quickly they can defend aggression when it's not the US that's doing it. They're just cosplaying. And so I hate that there's like attention, and it's necessary because a lot of people, holy shit, the audience, the size of them. And it fucking frustrates me so much. Like, you can literally have someone whose whole thing is Palestine come out and say that any Ghazawan, any Palestinian in Gaza who was cheering on and happy for Syrians after Assad's regime fell, if they're applauding this, then they deserve the treatment they're getting by the Israelis. This happened. There is an account that said this, and as far as I know, that person is still posting, and she still has an audience, and people are still listening to her as though she's a serious person, as though like when she talks about Palestine, it's because she cares about Palestine and Palestinians, but obviously not. And so in that same way, I don't know. Some of these people are just complete bullshit artists. Rhubarb, yeah. See also anti-imperialist reaction to the fall of Assad. Exactly. Like, again, many accounts of people in Gaza celebrated with Syrians, with their Syrian kin, their Syrian brothers, that this oppressor, that this butcher fled. And not just being like staying with their narrative of being like, no, this was regime change, and this was like it's a Zio plot or whatever. And again, where the fuck are these people now that Israel is like occupying more territory in Syria and escalating its aggression there as well, and its occupation? There's very much so a vibe these days, and this is part of the thing that's making me go a bit mad, is people trying to like fit a square peg into a circle hole. You know, they're like cramming it in there and like destroying it and being like, look, it fits. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, like it clearly doesn't. Like, the analysis and the narrative and the reality of the present moment, and they're just constantly trying to make it fit, and no one's trying to just acknowledge like, no, this just doesn't fit. And that the people who have been selling us this as the thing that like fits in with reality are bullshit artists, and they don't know what they're talking about, and they're assholes. And they kind of just hold so many people in contempt, and they're cosplaying. Like, Palestinians don't exist really in their analysis. They exist only as a kind of tool, as a pawn, as a whatever. And most of these people aren't really engaged in political stuff. They're just shit posters, or they're what I'm gonna maybe develop as a term, rad posters. I need to find a better term. But like, people who think basically that they're posting radical content when they're really just not. And there's like nothing really radical about what they're saying. Brand PR'd, welcome. Hello. How have you been, Eamon? Well, bit evident. Also, my therapist left me. I'm sad. It's the topic of my next episode, which I was meant to release like yesterday, but I really just didn't have any time. She's out of my life. I thought she was the one. I've been sad posting for the last few days because I really liked her and it was going well. And I want something very specific. Need something very specific. But alas. She apparently had a Kaylin asks what happened. I won't go too much into it because it's again gonna be like it's the episode that I'm gonna release tomorrow. She basically messaged me like a few days ago saying she no longer has time because she'd been involved in a project that now she's been given like more tasks, and so it's I'm all by myself. All by myself. Don't wanna be all by myself. I really wish certain accounts would stop posting about Ukraine. It's not their expertise, I fear. Yeah. It's not. I mean, I'm generally against the idea of expertise because I find it sometimes, yeah, mostly a tool of exclusion and the like. But like for sure, when you're talking about a situation where it's like life or death, it's aggression, it's an invasion. Like there are millions of people whose lives are like deeply, deeply affected by this. And so for someone to come and be like, I don't know shit about Ukraine. I don't know shit about the history. I don't speak any of these languages. I've never been there. I don't have any like personal attachment or like friends or anything. And I'm just going to be writing about it, like fitting it in with an already existing narrative that it itself is bullshit. Actually, let's do a very fun thing. Children. They aren't even talking about Ukraine. They're talking about Westerners and their POVs. Yeah. They're talking about America and like American Empire, and they're just like myopic focus of like antagonism towards that, without really doing anything, in my opinion, and kind of actually feeding into it in many ways because they're destroying so many possibilities of creating solidarities with other marginalized communities across the world. They do a lot of harm, tankies, that is. And yeah, like I know this from very personal experience. Like I cannot exist in their analysis. Me and so many other people, just we can't exist. Kaylin says, yeah, the bigger thing I wish auth left accounts would stop, authoritarian leftist accounts would stop doing is just making flippant jokes about any of the stuff. To me, that's the exact same part of it. None of this is actually real to them. And there's like kind of no stakes. The trolling level discourse, yeah. I have a whole thing that and I understand a lot of this comes from trauma and burnout and the like. But there's like there's like no analysis coming out of Lebanon, in my opinion. The analysis that people see people sharing is just like an exclusive analysis. But one of the only places that I'm seeing any knowledge generation, any like production, like generating the kind of whatever, are the meme accounts. And there are a few, like a handful of Lebanese meme accounts, which are a bit different. And obviously, I don't know because I don't have access to other like very niche meme account kind of things, you know what I mean? Where it's like it's not like you have to be Lebanese to understand. It's like you have to fucking really be deep into it. Oftentimes the politics suck, and so that's problematic. And by and large, I think irony and like that type of humor has its limits. But so I think it speaks much more to the fact that no one else is coming up and doing videos and doing and writing things and doing analysis that's like real or that's generating anything new. So yeah, yeah, I have an essay that's like I'm also waiting on it to like come out on Elon Musk and 4chan and the kind of 4chanification, which is kind of a spin-off of the term memification of politics. Sophia Ciente says, "What do you mean with can't exist?" Well, as an anti-authoritarian leftist, as a queer, as someone who opposes, you know, certain parties, as someone who is both opposed to American and whatever hegemony, um, and to what was so-called the so-called Axis, um, like in these people's analysis, it's either this or that. These are campists. I think campism is a very important term, actually. And I discovered that the Wikipedia page for campism is great. So I think I'm going to read a few more of these and then hop on over and look at that with y'all, because I think it's actually very good. What movies have you seen recently? Brand PR asks. You know, it's been a very long time since I watched a movie. Oh, I did watch one, but it's not for public consumption. Very, very odd film. My God, I really haven't been watching things. There's a film that I really want to watch called Bye Bye Tiberius. It's just come out with Hiam Abbas, following like 3 generations of Palestinian women. My goodness. That's supposed to be an easy question. What movies have you seen recently? I haven't been watching anything. I've been watching literally the thing that I've been consuming most is like streams from this one Scottish comedian, Limmy. And oftentimes it's just him watching like TV shows from the 80s. But he's just funny and he's just got good banter. And it's kind of just nothing. Because, I don't know. I think there's something about burnout and trauma where it's like, I don't want to feel anything, highs or lows. I don't want to engage too much in something. I just want something to like move me along. Sophia Tiente asks, what's the odd film? It's a film called Happiness by an American indie filmmaker called Todd Solondz. It is bizarre. I do not recommend. Big trigger warnings. Very intense themes, sexual themes, um, themes of pedophilia as well. Nothing explicit. It's not like whatever, but it's a very twisted film with very nice actors actually. And there are a lot of there's a Philip Seymour Hoffman is in that film, and I think that's how I discovered it because when he passed away, I kind of wanted to see all his films, all the films he was in. And this was whatever. Brilliant writing though. Like as a study of how to write a scene, I think it's a great film. But it's one of these films that's like I watched an earlier film by the same director called. This is a stream. How does this work? Why doesn't this just work immediately? Wah. Application capture. Why are you doing this to me? I apologize for the delay. Oh. Why is this happening? Okay. I'm very sorry, everybody. Not what I wanted. Hello, Riveroon. I'm just trying to figure out Mac OS screen capture. Yes. Display application. Ugh. I don't feel like closing OBS and trying to get this on. I've got some shit to figure out. So I was gonna show you the film, or at least the cover of the film, but I guess that's not gonna happen this time. But he has an earlier film, the same director, Todd Solondz, called Welcome to the Dollhouse. And it was at that point that I kind of really understood like what his focus is. And it's the kind of like not just the depravity, but the kind of like psychosexual depth within American suburbia. The kind of like how fucked up things are, even when it kind of looks like cookie cutter clean, you know. And again, it's not grim. It's quite funny. Um, but it's just awkward and kind of sexually frustrated and whatever. Welcome to the Dollhouse is a cute one. It's got none of the sort of like intense themes of happiness. Yeah. Bye bye Tiberius is phenomenal. Thank you. No, thank you. Yes. I hope so. Oh, do people know the film Happiness? I thought this was like a niche find that only I knew and like a few friends. Someone asked about Israeli incursions into Syria. Yeah. The Israelis are emboldened and they're getting basically the green light to do whatever they want from the US. And I don't know. It's really scary, if I'm honest. But I think I don't know. I honestly can't make sense of anything. I have no takes. Um, but I think it does open up a possibility of a kind of somewhat joint cooperation between people within Lebanon, people within Syria. Um, because yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing that like most Syrians do not want to get into a war. most Syrians know that they do not have the capacity to do much in a war context, especially now, just still embroiled in this like economic collapse. Most people focus on sanctions, and sanctions is a big part of it, but there's a lot of reasons why the Syrian economy is fucked, and why the infrastructure is fucked, and why there's not really much of a state to talk about. But I think what they're finding is that it's not really a choice whether it's something that's kind of being forced onto them by the Israelis. The Israelis are claiming that they want to go further and like into Damascus, or like a suburbs of Damascus, which is like a predominantly Druze area, to protect the Druze. We've heard the same thing when they talk about the occupied Golan Heights. Most notoriously, like a year ago, there was a massacre in Majd al-Shams, a Druze village in the Golan Heights, and the Israelis claimed that it was Hezbollah. I don't buy that for a second. It's a territory that the Israelis occupy themselves. If they wanted to show that it was Hezbollah, they could very easily show that it was Hezbollah. But I think, and what people within Majd al-Shams were saying is that no, this has happened before, but this is the first time that it's killed people to this extent, where it's like a failed Iron Dome missile. But regardless, even though these are Syrian Druze people under Israeli occupation, the Israelis, I think that was basically their casus belli to like expand the aggression against Lebanon. Ugh, so fucked up. And so they're trying to play the same playbook. And even though I'm not very dirzi, or like it does not identify my define my identity that much, I find myself kind of, there aren't many loud Druze voices. And so I'm going to be saying some things about this vis-a-vis Syria as well. That there is a widespread rejection of Zionism amongst the Druze, who are not all of one mind. None of us are. And this isn't to talk about the Druze within 48 Palestine, which is also a different story. But also, I reject completely any of this sort of like patronage or any of this idea that like they give a shit at all. It's complete bullshit. It's just completely attempts at justifying further occupation. What did you talk about earlier? If you're a cinephile, you can hear about any kind of films. Yeah, I didn't know that we had many cinephiles in the audience tonight. Oh yeah. Oh, Kaylin, you're asking about the Druze and Jaramano. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce it fully. I've never read it before. I'm not familiar with that area. But yeah, so no, I reject entirely, and and the Druze of those communities have been vocally opposed, and yeah, know what the Israelis are, and know the bullshit. And so I think that also is a task for the current Syrian government and the like to constantly emphasize and actually like implement the kind of the pluralistic state that they've been talking about. Because in a lot of cases, and this is something I deal with in the video essay, the kind of exclusionary ideology of Zionism is then sometimes matched with a similarly exclusionary form of Arabism. And you have some communities who really are just pushed in between. And I think it is much more effective to combat Zionism, not with our own exclusionary hierarchy, and especially one that's based on like ethnicity or religion or sect, but one that's like opposed to Zionism, even ideologically, in terms of we are not exclusionary, pluralistic, not one of ethnocracy, but democracy. Brand PR says, I hope the mediators can also help solve these standoffs too. Yeah, in Gaza, yeah. Honestly, I was worried that Ramadan was coming around because I kind of knew the Israelis were going to do this. I am shocked by just how persistent and continuous and just on so many different fronts. The Israelis are now occupying not just Palestine, but now lands in Lebanon and increasingly Syria. And they're not only now seem to be continuing their like bombardment of Gaza, but escalating their ethnic cleansing campaigns in the West Bank. And so there's just in this like all fronts and new fronts that is just constantly whatever, because there are not really any checks. And so this is why I don't give a shit about Sisi and Abdullah talking about the two-state solution, talking about whatever. Like they're still living in the fucking 80s, when even then it was bullshit, and even then people could see the writings on the wall. But any of their supposed pro-Palestine and pro-Palestinian sentiments mean absolutely nothing without any anti-Zionism. Because Zionism is a threat, and it is expanding, and they are changing the rules of the game completely. And there's just not that same response. Not a lot of Palestinian Druze representation in the activist spaces too. Yeah. I actually met my first like a Druze Palestinian who lives in Haifa. And honestly, like it was kind of really fucking interesting talking to him, because I noticed that there is such little engagement with 48 Palestinians in general. And I mean, they do live under a police state. They also live under this like fascist ethno state. And they are occupied in a different sense. But there's a very much so a lack of recognition or engagement with 48 Palestinians in general. There is this Lebanese page who I found this one of the grossest things they've ever done, even though they have done a lot. They put a kind of poll on Instagram on a story. Do you consider 48 Palestinians to be A, traitors, or B, Palestinians under occupation? Like, what a fucking framing. So many unserious people. Marie, joint effort would be nice. I didn't think of that as a possibility. Honestly, to me, it's a necessity. I kind of argue that in my video essay. So annoyed. I hate talking about, because there's something that I used to do a lot that I've like avoided, which is talking about something instead of doing that thing. Because what I found sometimes is that I would end up not doing that thing because I already got the gratification and the affirmation from just talking about it. I'm thinking of doing this and that. Wow, that's amazing. Wow, yeah, you should do it. Yeah, I will. I never get around to it. Now it's not the case. It's done. I just can't release it yet. But I still hate this kind of like talking about this thing that not people have not seen. But yeah. Kaylin says, I agree. I think it's way more important for the interim government to focus on pluralism rather than open military confrontation that tanky slash pro-access people are foaming at the mouth for. They're foaming at the mouth. I like that. That's interesting. Because I think they're foaming at the mouth for a couple of reasons in that case. But yeah. Kind of off topic, but I wonder if a wide-scale, decentralized slash anarchist military arsenals would be possible in our times, especially with modern technologies being what they are. Yeah. I mean, with modern technology also comes this like mass intense surveillance. And so like when you read about internationalists of like the 30s or whatever and the way people would travel and go and like groups, like whole groups would go to the Ba'a Valley, you know, in the 60s and 70s to train and then go back to their contexts and you know, we're talking about like Kurdish groups and Armenian groups and like German leftists and communists of all shapes and whatever. I think even the Black Panthers went to Lebanon in like the 70s. Um, but yeah, yeah, I do wonder sometimes what that could look like and if there is like an impetus for it. But I also see in the kind of analysis that like some of the other formations have not worked. Like standing armies against and like confronting the US empire, I think is, you know, and this is where like guerrilla tactics come from. The acknowledgments that like face to face you cannot really tackle the American empire. Oh yeah, Kalen makes a good point. That is what happened when Assad was overthrown. Like from the north, like we're talking about uh starting in like late November, early December, you did have a pretty organized military operation with like very like vertically organized, horizontal, authoritarian uh militias in the north. Um I forget the name of that operation, like Rada al Adwan, like deterrence against aggression or something. Um, and this is where like Al Shara, formerly known as Jolani, comes from, or like was, and like did his whole thing, and like from Idlib to Aleppo down to Hama, then to Homs. But yeah, the uprisings in Dar'a and Swaida and Qunaitra, uh, and in a lot of the cities that were liberated in the north, like it was people like dropping their posts and like running from their posts and being like, actually, fuck it. And there was a kind of like sort of very brief, but like spontaneous and quick and powerful mass uprising that ultimately led to the downfall of the regime. Uh, I definitely always push back when people talk about like when El Shara overthrew Assad. I was like, no, no, no. He did not overthrow Assad. Again, Jolani. Wait, sorry, the Oscars are tonight? They're still doing that? They're still doing the Oscars? I swear to God, and it's not. I can't say I don't give a shit because it's so fucking frustrating that these things are still happening. The kind of damn this chair. Oh, is it actually every March? I have no idea. Like the first Sunday of every March. I don't know. Maybe On Cinema is gonna have their own Oscar special again. But what movies came out? Like aside from this Palestinian one, why did that jump to whatever? Oh, really? Wait, when I open this, does it immediately jump to? Okay, I don't know why I did that. But like American films, like best director, like what's a movie? Wicked? What is this? Oh, okay. Uh, what's her name? I don't know. She acted. Is that? I don't want to say the name. Ariana Grande. 31 years old. 31. I thought she was gonna be younger. Okay. Cynthia Erivo. 38. Oh, Jeff Goldblum is in this film. Okay. I'm sure he's gonna give an outstanding performance, the likes of which we've never seen before. He might actually act. I joke. The Brutalist. Okay, I've heard that, but I think I've always thought it was like an older film. This is a terrible stream because I can't show you me looking at whatever. Oh, with God, I've completely forgotten all these names. I mean, I don't care that I Adrian Brody. Oh, oh, okay. This is a 2024 epic period film directed and produced by Brady Corbett. Stars Adrian Brody as a Hungarian Jewish Holocaust survivor who immigrates to the United States, where he struggles to achieve the American dream until a wealthy client changes his life. I don't know. Oh, okay. Brand PR, you really seem to know your stuff. Mary says, I haven't seen the new movie, Wicked, because who cares? But the original one is good. Uh, the one with a kid. Wicked film original. Wait, is it an original? Is there a film? Isn't it a musical? Wait, when I get this close, my camera automatically changed the white balance? No. Uh, the Nickel Boys. I have not heard of any of these films. Anora. I mean, I'm intentionally not watching whatever. Isn't that the Wizard of Oz? The original Wizard of Oz is honestly a feat. Like watching when was it made? Like 1940? And I think it was filmed in Technicolor, which I just love. Or it might have even been before Technicolor. Very pretty, very nice colors. But yeah, I don't have any like takes. Isn't there a guy in Anora who did propaganda movies for the Russian invasion? Sorry, what? What's happening? Anora. Who are all these people? What? God, I'm so out of it. Yeah, I just don't care. Moving on. Because I've got nothing to say about it. I just don't know any of this. I saw a post about it, but apparently it's not on the English wiki for this actor. Interesting. Actually, I really think we should start like unironically uh supporting like Wikipedia and like telling people to support it and like donating a little bit. I obviously have my problems with Wikipedia. And especially like I mean Arabic Wikipedia is terrible and it's just all state propaganda or like it's terrible. Um but it's like something that needs to be saved in a kind of way. Like I'm thinking in terms of like there's clearly going to be more of an assault against it. I think people like Elon Musk and all these like techno feudalists fucking hate Wikipedia. Um and I think we don't really recognize how actually like vital it is. Um it's one of the few remaining websites. I've noticed that the internet has really taken a turn towards apps, but also towards like five companies. And I remember when I was younger, we would visit websites, you know, we would use the internet, we would explore the internet. Um, and like things like Instagram and Twitter, these were apps, these were one page, these were one whatever. And now it's everything is like, people get internet just to use WhatsApp, just to use Instagram, or just to use whatever. But yeah, hashtag support Wikipedia. Wait, no, don't say that. Kalen says, also just as important as funding Wikipedia is contributing edits for niche areas you're actually knowledgeable in. Wait, you're 100% right, but I don't want to. I've seen like it's the thing where I'm reading a Wikipedia page, I'm like, this is all false. This is terrible. This is missing. I'm not gonna do anything about it because it's a lot of work. But it's actually not that much work, and I feel like there's probably like a pretty steep learning curve. Like once you do it once and twice, and it's just kind of easier. But yeah, there have been times where I'm reading something, I'm like, this is terrible, and you look at the citations, and it's like, that's even worse. But yeah, there was a question earlier from Michalis Amelis. Hello. Can you talk about how From the Periphery started? How did you do that? How did you highlight parts of your message? Sorry, I am still figuring things out. I don't know if that's like intentional or if you just by typing in the name it shows up. Uh From the Periphery kind of just started with the Fire These Times, the podcast that Elia Ayub started like 3 years ago. And initially, it just started as like a bunch of us. Like they'd always wanted to like expand the Fire These Times, So it's not just him and his interest and his focus, but a bigger thing wherein other people can come and use that platform essentially with the built-in audience and format and the like to do their own interviews. And so we were doing that for a bit. I was like producing some episodes, and then I wanted to start my own podcast. And so it was like, you know, my first few episodes, I put it into the feed of the Farthest Times, helped boost my podcast to begin with. And then I don't know, there was just these kind of discussions of like, maybe we should, there's like a few projects and a few people who are doing stuff. And it's like, let's kind of federate or let's kind of like work together. And we're all in some shape or form from the periphery, from different peripheries, in terms of nation states, in terms of the globe, like the global, like imperial peripheries, like centers and whatever, gender peripheries, also like political leanings, very peripheral, or rather peripheralized. And so we adopted this name, and that's how it kind of started. But if I'm honest with you, one problem we're still having is defining ourselves, you know? Like, I think politically, the press has a kind of identity, the Farthest Times has an identity, and, you know, we're in a media ecosystem from the periphery, and we talk about internationalism. We talk about a lot of stuff, that's the problem, and in a lot of different ways. And now with the video essays, there's like a whole new thing, and with this. And so, well, yeah, that's how it started. Sammy's Adventure. Oh, is Wikipedia doing fine? Record revenues? Um, Wikipedia is so essential, but also biased towards Israel. And I wonder how we can better safeguard against that kind of influence. Yeah. That's Hasbara. That's like the straight up actual people like being paid to edit Wikipedia pages. Um, and you see like some of these are like some of the most protected pages. Like not anyone can come and edit, but also like so heavily like bullshitified. Like there'll be a claim, and then you see like there's like 4 citations. So like just aesthetically, oh, this is a backed up claim. But you look at each individual one, and it's like Times of Israel, you know, Jerusalem Post, then some article from New York Times that's like complete bullshit, and like kind of not doesn't even have to do with the point. And this other one, and so it's like not just that there's a claim and that you can contest it, but that there are these false citations and there's contestations. I definitely know that there's probably like a lot of discussions happening behind the scenes because I've definitely noticed that sometimes what I like to do when I want to feel analog is I will go on to wikipedia.org and read the front page. It's again, if I could get this fucking thing to work. Wait, let me move. Oh, move this very quickly. Not to block that. Mac OS screen cap. Yes. I'm having a very hard time with OBS with this software. What was I saying? Um, Wikipedia being bad, Israel. Yeah. We need to shift from a consumption-based internet economy to a production/sharing-based one. Yeah. I largely agree with that, but it cuts into my interests because I'm Because basically, yeah, as a writer, like all my stuff is for consumption. But also, I mean, not necessarily. Like, there is a kind of format wherein people, it's not like they buy my stuff or anything. It's more contributions to be able to keep me going or whatever. Um, the internet's public library, and you all know how much some people hate public libraries. Yeah, yeah. I feel like we should also develop our own apps. I mean, sorry, yes, but there are some things that I think maybe I shouldn't have this attitude. Sometimes I think I should learn coding. You know what I mean? But I'm 30. There is a fairly steep learning curve, but making small edits to like fill out short paragraphs, add links to sources isn't so bad. Yeah. I didn't highlight anything. Maybe it's on your end. Oh, I guess I have YouTube Premium. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay then. I think your own account is highlighted if someone uses it in a message. So since Amon is streaming on there you go. Oh, thank you, Mean Kitty. Genuinely really grateful for your work. It's kind of all I know what to do. I like that you're all distinct. Yeah. And we're kind of a very supportive group. Like, we all like each other and we all like the work we do. And so I'm very happy, for instance, that my first video essay got a lot more attention onto the YouTube, and it'll continue. And so it's like kind of that sort of floating our boats kind of situation. It's useful. Okay, so yeah, it's useful that you talk about different stuff, definitely. And we all do have different focuses and different like ways of going about things. But it's just, I'm really curious to hear from other people how our like identity as a group is perceived. Like, is there a sort of clear, like, how do people describe us? You know what I mean? How do you describe it? Like, it must be a bit, oh, it's a bunch of people from places like Lebanon and Armenia and whatever. Like, we don't have a necessarily geographical connection, thematic connection, um, style connection. Like, the Fire These Times is much more interview based, but like Politically Depressed, even though I do want to do more interviews, is me, blog, and the like. Uh, and some of the other projects. I think we're bound to have like a full on strategic committee within the thing to like work some of these things out. Um, but yeah, I'm glad at least that there's this sort of vibe that like we're good. Like, if it's on this topic or that topic or whatever, that we have the sensibilities that it's not going to be something that's full of like wild hot takes that are like super hurtful, harmful, bordering whatever, you know, bigoted or whatever. That the people we get on, you know, are like relatively vetted so that we know that they're not assholes. Even like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, let's see their opinion on this thing, but we kind of do like a brief search of like, in general, are they a tanky? How tanky adjacent or whatever? Um, you know, they might say good stuff on Syria, but are they a Zionist? There's this guy, for instance, that Elia did interview with Daniel. Like very, very, very good critiques and interesting and like specific and like unique critiques of Zionism. But then we discovered this guy's blog, and he's like a massive transphobe, and we're like, no, you know what I mean? Like one of these like woke mind virus kind of people. We're like, no, we're not platforming that guy. So that's at least a nice like connecting factor. Brand PR asks, have you met Ilya in person? I have a few times. A few times actually. The first time just for coffee in like November 2019, and then not again for a year or like 2 years until I moved to Vienna. They were living in Geneva at the time. Very cute story actually. I found myself at that point in my life dreaming like every single night, vivid ass fucking dreams, and remembering every single fucking dream. And I don't know, I'd been a lurker for a very long time on Twitter and wanted to be a bit more vocal. So I wrote a tweet being like, I'm dreaming of this, I dreamt of this person, that person. And I sort of like put a bit of analysis of why I think I had that dream. So Ilya was like, oh, if you ever want to come to Geneva, like, not in that way where it's like, oh, if you're ever passing by, you have a couch. Like it was an actual sort of invitation. And yeah, we hung out for like a week. It was nice with another person. It was nice, and I've met them a few other times after that. Oh, I did want to say about the Wikipedia main page. Ooh, this chat is moving. Uh, that sometimes I go on the main page and I'm very pleasantly surprised. Like seeing Palestine content, seeing writings on Palestinian prisoners, and like not in the news section, but like the did you know section. And once I also saw one for Omar Aziz, the Syrian anarchist. And I'm like, there are some comrades like operating within the space of this front page of Wikipedia. I like that it's Caitlin says it's like that it's an ecosystem. I've discovered so many other orgs, media collectives through yours, Mangled Media, the People's Want. It's made me actually feel potential in the internet again. Yeah. We're planning on doing more with the People's Wants, but things are a bit slow. But it's that same thing of like, we kind of try to integrate our politics into the ways that we're presenting ourselves and organizing amongst ourselves. And the kind of thing of, yeah, it's not like a competition between the different entities or products or what's the term? Pieces of the ecosystem. Um, but one in which very much so, like, if you like this, you will also like this, because we're, kind of on loose same frameworks of feminism, anti-capitalism, liberation, and the like. Thank you. Talking about coding. Oh, that's a nice description, me and Kitty. It's a group of people who are not centered on the West and have very anti-sectarian views. Yeah. I centered on and in the West. I mean, I know a lot of us are based in the West, but yeah. Anti-tanky inoculation, thank you. To me, internationalist approach is the appeal and how I define the collective as well. Yeah. And I mean, in a much more bigger, like actual political sense, like not just media production, that's what the People's Want's all about. And that's why like I fucking love them. And they're really cool. And I might do a stream or something where I just go through the manifesto with people. Um or maybe a few parts of the manifesto. Or I really wished I could open up the Wikipedia page. Highly recommend look at the Wikipedia page for campism. It is honestly illuminating. It is actually very interesting. I didn't know it had this long of a history and that it's so clear cut and how it's manifested into what we now know as campism or and tankies being what are described as second campists. And that what we're trying to build is essentially, because I've never heard that term before, third campists, which is neither the first camp nor the second camp, but a yet to form third camp of internationalist, workers of the world or whatever you describe them, kind of like those that are not organized just as within states. Capital W Western perspectives. It's so hard to find that elsewhere on the English internet and from a perspective that's both leftist and international and anti-authoritarian. Yeah. No, yeah. Definitely, I noticed that I learned this from bell hooks. That if there's something that you're looking for and you can't find, then make it yourself. Do it yourself. This is what bell hook says was like the motivating factor for writing children's books. She says to herself, like, why are there no books for young black boys that incentivize reading? Why have I never seen a depiction of a black child reading? And so she just did a book. She wrote a book called Be by Boy or something. Or then also her children's book, Happy to Be Nappy. You know? Like, it's great. It's great from this perspective of someone, of that stature, a respectable academic author writing children's books. Fuck that. In her analysis, she sees it and she's like, this needs to exist and doesn't, so let's do it. And so a lot of the stuff that we do and like I want to talk about, and the kind of ideas and histories and whatever, I don't see online, and so I'm just doing it. I think there's a reason I don't see it online, and I think it's the case of the medium really influencing the content. And so this type of long form actual analysis discussion embedded within the struggle kind of thing doesn't make for good takes. Doesn't fit within a tweet. Very hard for it to go viral. And even virality as a concept. But same with Instagram. And so I think a lot of these bigger accounts really have a lot of the aesthetics of radicalism. But like no radical analysis. This is not radical politics being played out on Twitter at all. And yeah, I get the confidence that also like I know these discussions are happening. I know these solidarities are existing and like forming offline. Like these are not things I'm inventing. It just doesn't exist as much online. It just doesn't. And especially English speaking, and I don't know. It's definitely my experience that like I am surprised when I see someone online that's a big account that is pro Palestine, that is anti Israel, that is also willing to speak out for the Syrian revolution, for Ukraine. You know what I mean? It's a huge problem. Oh, brand PR asks, so many things are terrible. When do you think things get better? 5 years from now, 10 years from now? How about right now? Delusion. Medication. mind over matter, like my mother used to tell me, still tells me. But yeah, I'm not holding out for things to get better in that sense. What's campism? Ooh. Oh, first, me and Kitty also says, thank you for not minimizing, COVID, like most leftist spaces. I'm a full-time wheelchair user because of COVID, so it's been hard realizing how ableist many leftists are. Yeah. It's also embedded in the discourse. Like there's not that nuance that like factors those things in, hold space for it. But I definitely do appreciate the discussions, especially that Elia holds or used to hold. And it's not a thing that's gone, you know? Like I refuse to talk about back then during the pandemic kind of thing. Campism is basically the worldview that you can split up the world into camps. I think the original manifestation of it was what is it? Like I think it's before the Soviet bloc campism. Yeah, so originally uh during the Second World War, first bloc fascist powers, Germany, Italy, Japan, whatever. Second bloc anti-fascist powers, including the Soviet Union. And then most notably is during the Cold War that there's this idea that basically the world exists in two blocks. The US, the capitalist imperialist countries, and then the second block, the USSR, China, you know what I mean? And so what's often neglected by campus people who believe that there's this the fact that there's no space in between them or outside of them. And so here, I've never heard this term, but I quite liked it. This idea of the third block, yet to be created, which would unite working class and colonized people in revolutionary and anti-imperialist struggle. And so ever since the collapse of the Soviet Union, most recently, what you have in what when we describe people as campists, it's the people who believe and have this worldview that there is the first camp. There are two camps: the imperialist West and the anti-imperialist East. You know, even categorizing something like Russia or China as anti-imperialist, but then also things like Iran. And like it just doesn't work that way. And it's so reliant on states as a concept. And again, erases completely actual communities and actual struggles. And there's like no nuance. Oh, text is happening. Oh, okay. River Rune basically answers said what, yeah. Ah, yeah, there you go. Brand PR named Zay Squirrel is the best example of a rabbit campus. Yes. Um, ooh, discussions in the chat about are things going to get better and whether I do hold on to a kind of necessary optimism and a kind of like delusional optimism almost because or rather again and I've said this several times on the podcast, optimism, pessimism of the will, no, pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will. Everything I see around me, and again I come from Lebanon, not just the most recent aggression, but like 5 years of like one of the worst economic collapses in the century in the world, in a very like imperialized and fucked up area. And I don't know. So like I don't, it's not like get better in a kind of like, I think some of it has to also change the framework of how we understand things as better. But yeah, not looking good. But yeah, there's a necessity to act regardless, especially for those of us that can. And this is why I continue to do whatever. Yeah. No, campist is definitely a word that's used against some of these people. Same with tanky. Tanky is not a self-described term. They would describe themselves, yeah, as a Marxist-Leninist, as an anti-imperialist. I don't think they usually call themselves internationalists, though. They call themselves anti-imperialists. I think maybe some, but I think most see internationalism, yeah, as that kind of whatever anarchisty thing. Explains people who start supporting the Islamic Republic of Iran, yeah. Yeah. I find it so funny when I talk to Iranians or like, I don't know, like just so many people where we bond instantly over like, you know, tankies, where it's like, oh yeah, they said this about you. Yeah, they said you don't exist either. Oh yeah, that like you too. They also said that you're just an FBI, whatever, Fed jacket bullshit. They think tanky is a slur. Boo hoo. Yeah. Being Swana is like, sorry for being nuanced. Sorry for existing. I didn't ask for this, okay? And I think there's certain things where it's like if your analysis shifts or whatever, that like you deserve your analysis, you deserve the situation that you come up with your analysis as opposed to what's fucking just outside, like my lived experience. Okay, yo. My partner just got home from travel. Uh, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. I also did say 6 to 8, and so this has been another nice one. Thanks everybody for joining. Again, if you like this one, and if you like the work I do, I've got a Ko-fi account. It's a tip jar. Um, anything from as low as like 2 buckaroonies. Anyway, no, whatever. I'm gonna stop joking about people supporting me financially. Um, 0 cat sightings. You're right. You're right. I'll be back. Actually, I'm very sorry to disappoint all of you, but he's eating, and it's like the big dinner where he gets wet food, and so I don't want to move him about because I'm respecting his autonomy. The cat's name is Chow Mein, and I do apologize for making claims that I was not able to follow through with. However, this is my guarantee that in the next one of these, you will not just get a cat sighting, but a full cat at least 5 minutes of cat. Oh, thank you, whoever. Thank you, Kaylin. That was a very ugly noise, actually. Is there any way I can change that? Also, not much of an animation. Huh. I want to find something a bit cuter than that. That was just obnoxious. But yeah, thank you, Kaylin. Appreciate it. And for the rest of you, next time, cat content guaranteed. Planning on doing this every Sunday, 6 p.m., 8 p.m., 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. CET. And yeah, if you don't catch it, then there'll be the VOD and also the podcast. Also, inshallah, next week video essay. Don't hold your breath, but it's coming. So with that said, see you all next time. Kisses. Take care of yourselves and those around you. Little hearts. All right. Good night.